Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories, where people conform to the letter but not the spirit of a request. The first story is called That Should Be Common Sense. I've worked at this company for 5 years, and within those 5 years I went from customer experience to IT, to operations, and am now in e-commerce. So I know how the company works very well internally. Since I worked in customer experience, I had to have direct contact with our warehouse from the day I started. I've become pretty close with the workers there through email to the extent we have inside jokes. The other day, an e-commerce order that came through as a test was supposed to be cancelled. I emailed the girls there to cancel it, but they forgot. The new operations manager sent an email and CC'd my director and another member from his team about how this order was sent out, even though it was cancelled in our system. I attached my email that I sent to the warehouse and said it was communicated to them, so it was their error. His reply was, "We had this conversation before, where you are not to contact the warehouse directly and the operations team should communicate this as it's not your department. And why would they do anything you ask since you are not part of the warehouse team?" I immediately responded with an attachment of our last interaction about the warehouse, where nothing of the sort was communicated. I wrote, "From our last communication, nothing you said was actually communicated, and I've been talking to the warehouse for 5 years, so they know who I am and will follow through with requests." Instead of admitting none of what he said happened, he doubled down and said, "This process should be common sense." So today we were testing a new integration where we had like 10 test orders come through, and I just sent a cancellation request to the operations team, and not the warehouse, citing, "I should not email the warehouse directly." Our warehouse fulfills orders the same day, so needless to say, all 10 orders got shipped out without being cancelled. Screw ignorant managers who would rather be right than politely communicate or see learning moments. And especially screw people who CC higher ups to try and make you look bad when you won't. The next story is called If You Have Time to Lean, You Have Time to Clean. I'm a waitress for a few weeks in a big restaurant. For each lunch, the restaurant is divided into a few parts, 2 waiters for each. There is always a part that is empty earlier than the other. At the end of the service, there is only 1 waiter in that part. One day, during my first week, 2 parts were still opened, with me and Lily, an old waitress. She is easily irritated and wants to control everything. Because she is bad-tempered, the boss had never given her a manager position, and a younger waiter obtained the job. My part of the restaurant was very calm. I was taking a few minutes breaks quietly, looking at the client to see what I would do after. Lily has a few things to do, but as I said before, the service was ending, so not a lot of work. Lily saw me. She began to tell me off in front of some client, telling me that I am somebody who takes the line of least resistance, that I am selfish to not help others, and that if I choose this job to have a break, I can finish my probation period. This shocked me. I did not understand what she meant, as everybody takes some breaks sometimes. Fortunately, she is a heavy smoker. 1 week later, I was serving with the boss and she was alone again. I saw her put a lighter in her pocket. That was meaning a smoke break. Indeed, her part of the restaurant was almost empty, and she had a few minutes before clients would start to ask for things. Immediately, I jumped on her to ask for some help. Just a few things, but enough for her to have to come back to her clients before smoking. I did this 3 times. She became very irritated, even with the clients. In the end, my boss asked me to let her have a break. I played the innocent card. Sorry, she didn't have any work for the moment, and I want a smoother service for the clients. My boss explained to me that we can have breaks. I told him everything about the incident, using the exact same term. He was angry at least. The consequences were not so important. But I changed my place with Lily that day. She has to serve all my clients under the boss's eyes, while I only needed to serve 2 more tables. She never annoyed me again. The third story is called Wrong Way to Cover Yourself. This was back in 2009. I was working in a small town at a Mexican-inspired American fast food restaurant, named after a food item and a musical instrument. It was a decent job, mostly good people. I had been there almost 2 years when this event happened. When our previous assistant manager left, Sarah, the shift manager, was convinced she was getting promoted. But instead they brought in Billy as the new assistant manager. Sarah was mad as hell and hated Billy on site. Now, I didn't think he was all that bad at first, but he quickly revealed one massive glaring flaw. He, a mid-20s male, soon started flirting with and then dating Jane, a co-worker. She was just 16 at the time and her parents did not like it. One day, Sarah and I were working together doing a 6 PM to 2 AM closing shift. Around 9 PM, we got a call from Billy telling us to shut down the store immediately. Naturally, Sarah wanted to know why. Billy just told us to close and that we were not to let anyone in, no matter what. Of course, this sounded all wrong to us and Sarah should have refused or at least called the general manager to ask him if we could close up. But technically, Billy did have the authority to shut down the store. So we, as should be obvious, complied. We locked the doors, did all the closing stuff and shut down before 10. Sarah even adjusted my clock out so I got paid for my full schedule. I was off the next 2 days, so I didn't discover the fallout until I came back. It turns out that Billy had taken Jane to a party, which would have been bad enough. But the worst part was that the party was across state lines. Jane had told her parents that she was working. So Jane got a message from someone that her parents were going to the store to check up on her, hence Billy wanting us to close before they got there. Jane's parents forced her to tell them the truth when she got home and contacted our general manager to tell him what happened. Billy got fired and was lucky not to be arrested. Jane was restricted to school, work and home for the rest of the year. And Sarah still did not get promoted to assistant manager. They brought in yet another manager from a different store. Meanwhile, I kept on doing my job. The last story is called Follow Protocol. This happened last week. I work for a soft drink distribution warehouse. We pick products off of shelves, fill pallets with products, load the pallets on the trucks, etc. We need to hit a quota of at least 150 cases of product an hour. If we don't have the product on the shelves, we will empty slot it and move on to the next case. I come in early every day to check our stock area to see if we are out on any product and write them down and give a copy to the shift employees to save time. Now, 2 weeks ago, we hit a warehouse record of 42k cases in our 12-hour shift. We had a meeting to find out how we did it. I spoke up and explained what I had been doing to save time and effort. Our manager then berated me for not following the proper protocol of having to call over a forklift and having them double check to make sure we were actually out of the product before moving to the next. It takes more time than needed and grinds our numbers to a halt. I ended up getting a write-up. Great. Feeling discouraged and a bit petty, I went home angry and decided so be it. This past Monday I came into work early like I usually do and checked out the inventory. Business as usual. I took note of all the empty products and wrote them down. I went into the office and made enough photocopies to give to my co-workers and reminded them to follow protocol to the letter. On Mondays, the manager is the only licensed forklift driver on shift. We started the shift with a pre-shift meeting and stretch and started the day. Not even 1 minute in and I am calling for the forklift. The manager shows up and goes to check the stock. 10 minutes later he comes back and tells me to empty slot, so I do. As the manager leaves, I call for the forklift again. Another 10 minutes, another empty slot. I do this every single time for the next 12 hours. The icing on the cake is I am not the only one doing this. Every employee is doing the same. We are not allowed to move on to the next case until we get confirmation. So while one employee is waiting, it is causing other employees to wait even longer. We got told to empty slot the items we knew were gone, but every time we told the manager we have to follow protocol like you told us. We managed to get an outstanding 1200 cases in the 12-hour shift. A new record for the least productive day. Needless to say, Tuesday I got my write-up spring from the record and was given the go-ahead to go back to what we were doing before. And now it's your time to shine. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories? I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.